All right, New Year's Eve coming up. Do you do a champagne toast at midnight?
No, girl, champagne is not for me. I got ruined on champagne at such a young age. Like, you know how when you have an experience just one time and then it ruins it for you, you have this
Yeah.
like thing in your brain and you just can't get over it. Okay, so here's the story. Um, my family, my parents used to let us, even when we were really little, have Asti Spumante for like special occasions. And they would, when we were at home, like New Year's Eve or Christmas, they would literally give us like a little taste and we would feel so grown up and so cool. And they would like do it as part of our dinner or celebration or whatever. So it kind of was like a family tradition, which side note, my dad was an alcoholic. Like that probably
Some correlation.
not
Some
good family
correlation.
traditions to have, but it's what we did, whatever. It was the times. So we used to do that on special occasions. And then we used to travel quite a bit too when I was little. And we went on this cruise and I was in third grade. So that would have made me what, 8 years old, which would have been like 1985-ish. Okay, so cruising back then, just like flying back then, was so different. When you went on a cruise back then, it was very fancy, and the dinners were very fancy. You got dressed up every night for dinner, and they would serve you, and it'd be these big fancy meals. So they would let us, and they didn't care. Like you could. Like whatever your family had, the family was served. So if my dad, which he did, ordered Asti Spumante for the table, they would come and fill our glasses, but they would fill our glasses. They would like fill our little glass up with Asti Spumante.
And they
And
didn't even
then,
like care that you were a kid. Like,
no, it was like, it was up to our parents. Like they didn't question, they didn't care. It was just like if my dad said Asti Spumante for everybody. And so I'm in third grade. So my brother's in second grade. My sister's in fifth grade and we all get this cup of Asti Spumante. And my brother and sister, who are normal and reasonable people, drink like a little bit of it. No, I'm like, it's a free for all on Asti Spumante, drink mine. And then on the cruise ship again, they're not like this anymore. But back then, if your glass gets to like half empty, they're coming to refill just like automatically. And I noticed this right away. So I'm like, let me finish, let me drink mine. They're going to come and refill. And then my brother and my sister weren't finishing theirs. So now I'm finishing theirs so that they come and refill. So I don't even know how many glasses of Asti Spumante I had. Like, long story short, little third grade Kelly, 8-year-old Kelly got drunk on a cruise ship in third grade. And my parents knew this. They were like very concerned. They sent my brother and sister to bed. Like we were all in one room and my parents were all in one room and they let Vicky and Ryan go to bed, but they were legitimately like concerned about
right.
me because I was, and then you're on a boat. So I'm like, and I remember distinctly that they made me stay up until the midnight buffet. Because again, on the cruise, every night there was this big, glorious midnight buffet. And they're like, no, you're going to stay up. We need to keep an eye on you. And they made me stay up to the midnight buffet. And I remember seeing all that food laid out for the midnight buffet. I didn't throw up, but I just remember thinking, like, I will never eat again and I will never drink again. And still to this day, this is what, almost 40 years later, like I cannot have Asti Spumante and really any champagne I have here and there, but honestly, it
You're
gives me
triggered.
flashbacks. Like it brings me right back to third grade Kelly on the boat,
Oh
feeling
man.
woozy. Yes. So that is actually my first encounter with booze of any kind and a traumatic one at that. Yeah.
All right. So I want to know from the listeners, do you drink Asti Spumante and do you let your children drink Asti Spumante on New Year's Eve? I know they have like the little juice, whatever, the apple juice, apple,
Well, yeah,
whatever.
there's like sparkling cider. That's what
Yeah.
reasonable parents do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
This is legit. This is legit alcohol, though. Well, it's funny. So I have a very well, not even similar story to that because my family's Italian. My mom's from Italy. I'm first generation. And so right after the war, my mom came here as an infant, well, a little girl, 2 years old. And so we just grew up very culturally drinking wine all the time. I mean, we always had just every meal we had wine. And so we would always have that for breakfast. Do you have Zambuca or Frangelica? Have you ever had either of those?
yeah, I've had
Okay.
Frangelico. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's very much an Italian thing. Like you would put it in your coffee and it tastes like black licorice, right? And so we would dip our biscotti. My grandma would make, she'd hand roll the biscotti out and we would dip it in there and it gets soggy. It was so good, but it was like the best. And we would drink coffee. Okay. So first of all, you're giving like a 5 or 6 year old coffee and then you're throwing like a
Alcohol.
shot of alcohol in it. So we would go to church on Sunday and I remember my cheeks were just like flushed pink. And I remember just being in church and Father Lynch standing at the front. And all of a sudden, I just remember going in the pew and completely passing out, completely
How
like
old were
dying.
you? How old were you?
I was about 6 or 7. So
Oh my
around the
gosh.
same age as you. But I just remember, I mean, I was so like, I wasn't drunk, but I mean, I just passed out because I was the alcohol got to me. And so now to this day, very similar to you, where I cannot have like black licorice just overall. Like I'm like, just the thought of it just makes me want to vomit. But that was just kind of culturally like what we did. We would just have drinks. We would always call, my grandma would say, okay, we're gonna chase it. That's what she would say. So she would put 7 up inside of our wine.
Oh, okay,
Like, we'll
okay.
make a spritzer, we'll chase it. And I was like,
Oh, that's
yeah.
hilarious.
And
Oh
her
my
little broken
gosh.
Italian. So I know, but we don't have heart disease as far as I know. So that's good.
I know some of those things, like it sounds crazy to say these things out loud, but at the same point, like it's just cultural and generational. Whatever you did is what everybody did. I remember one time too. I don't know why my mom did this. I think she caught us trying to sneak into the liquor cabinet. They had a liquor cabinet. And I think she caught us trying to sneak in there. But between you and me and all the viewers, we were sneaking in there because they had nudie girl shot glasses that we were trying to look at. They had little shot glasses with nudie girls on it that if you put your thumb on it, it was like frosted over. But if you put your thumb on it, the frosting went away and there was like a chick in her bra and underwear underneath there. And we thought it was great and hilarious. So we were sneaking in there to try to look at the nudie girl shot glasses. But my mom thought we were sneaking in there to drink
Yeah.
alcohol. So she's like, okay, you think you're grown? Each of you pick a bottle, pick your bottle. And she made us do a shot. She made each of us do a shot. We had to pick a bottle. She poured a shot and she made us do it.
How old were
And
you
I,
then?
huh?
How old were you then?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I had to be between third and sixth grade because I'm remembering the house that we were in and it was that time frame. So somewhere between third and sixth grade. And we all had to pick a bottle. And I just remember I picked Galliano because it was like this tall, beautiful bottle. And I thought it would be great. And it was awful. And I think, you know what, like mission accomplished because we all took that shot and we were like, oh, this is gross. This is disgusting. Right. Like we know,
Right.
again, though, we weren't sneaking in there to get the alcohol in the first
Right.
place. But the fact that my mom's solution to that is we're all going to take a
Okay.
shot.
That's it. Bottoms up, people. Bottoms
It's,
up.
I know.
Oh,
That's
parents are funny.
crazy.
Parents are funny. So, yeah, I just feel like, I'm not a parent, but I probably would do those kinds of things with my kids where I would always be like, fine, you want to do that? Go ahead, smoke a pack of cigarettes. You think smoking's all that cool? Go ahead, light up. But
Right, right, right.
yeah, so
Yeah.
yeah.
My dad had a story like that where his dad caught him smoking cigarettes and he bought a carton of cigarettes and made him sit in the shed out in the yard and said he could not come out until the carton was gone. So he literally smoked himself sick and then never touched a cigarette again. They're crazy antics or whatever, but some of these things work.
I was just going to say, I think in this day and age, I think a lot of parents would, turn a blind eye to that and be like, that's not good. But like you said, he never touched a cigarette again.
Right, I know. Like
But
the way our parents parented and their parents, they'd all be going to jail and whatever else. But I tell you what, us as kids and them as kids learned not to do that stuff. I think we could all learn some parenting lessons from
I,
back then.
I couldn't agree
Yeah,
more. I couldn't agree more. So I'm so tired of hearing
absolutely.
what is it called? Gentle parenting. There's like a name for it.
I don't know. I don't get it. I'm thankful that the two I had are, I no longer have children in my household, and I'm glad for that because yes, parenting has changed a lot. I wasn't an expert parent when I was parenting and how they're parenting now. I don't understand it. So
Yeah.
thankful.
Yes, I hear you. So, all right. So, audience, we would love to hear from you. Go ahead and weigh in at your own first experience with alcohol because we'd love to know what age were you? Like, were you 5? Were you 8? Were you 10? Do you remember any of this? Do you like Frangelico? Do you like Lambrusco? Do you like Giuliano? Like,
Well, here's a question I want to ask you, Franley, because those were kind of done to us, right? Like we were little kids. Yes, I was drinking the Asti Spumante, but it was more given to me. But like, what is your biggest like where you overdid it, where you're like, oh, this will be fine, and then you made a
oh,
mistake when it comes to alcohol? Like, what was your bad decision with
I have
alcohol
a
that comes to
lot
mind?
of them. I dated a guy. I have a lot of them. Probably the earliest memory I can remember was when I was in high school. I was 16 and I was dating a guy who was 19. And he was at a fraternity party. He was part of the Fiji house. And I remember going down there. It was at Pitt, University of Pitt. It was about an hour and a half away. And I drove down there and I remember just getting so wasted. And I stayed overnight in the house because my mom thought I would stay with a friend who lived down in Pittsburgh. And she was like, oh, okay, you can go down and stay. So I ended up getting so wasted. And I just remember vomiting everywhere. I was 16 years old. I had driven down on a Friday night after school and it was awful. And I just remember like laying like literally like in my own like puke. It was just awful, 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 awful. That's probably one of my first like earliest memories, but I've got a lot.
Yeah. Do you remember what you drank that did it turn your
Beer. It
like
was just beer. Just a
yeah,
lot of beer.
frat party beer?
It was from a kegerator beer.
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah, it was bad. It was bad in every way.
Mine is similar, same kind of situation. I was 16, dating an older guy that I wasn't allowed to date, and we went out for New Year's Eve. And actually, it's a whole long story that my parents were forbidding me from dating him, and it was like a Romeo Juliet situation. And we actually, it was like our final goodbye because we had both agreed that we needed to break up because my parents were so against it. So we spent New Year's together, but we were the next day gonna break up and not see each other anymore. But I drank an entire bottle of peach schnapps, like peach schnapps, like
Without anything, like without orange
no,
or
with
anything.
stuff, like
Oh,
with in I think orange juice,
so you had a
fuzzy
fuzzy navel?
navels. Well, and then to top it all off, just to spice it up, I had some Zumas with it because you can't. I don't
Zima.
or Zima, not Zumas. Yeah, Zumas. Yeah,
Zima is
Zima.
a store.
Yeah. Okay, that's how long ago this was. So Zimas just and fuzzy navels. Like I
They
can't
had
even
their brand, what or their slogan was something different.
you guys, I'm not even kidding you. Even telling the story, I'm having the moisture in the back of my mouth where you get sick, where you're about to throw up. That's literally happening right now. Just remembering
A
this story.
visceral
I can't
reaction.
even say peach schnapps without this happening because I got legit like alcohol poisoning. Like I was all the way.
So
I
did he
was
have
at
to
a
bring
new
you home then? This Romeo guy had to bring you home then?
yes, the next day, like first of all, threw up all night long. Like they were like it's in Minnesota in the winter, and I was like passed out. I was there, but I just wasn't responding. They're like stuffing snow down my throat and trying to get me to respond, like all these 16-year-olds, you know. So threw up all
That's a
night
really
long.
good. That's very well known. I mean, if you guys would have had the internet, then that's what they would have told you to do. The remedy for sobering someone up is to shove snow down.
Shove snow down their throat. So that I mean, I remember going back to school honestly, and people like thought I was dead. Like walking down the halls, it was like, oh my god, she's
Whoa,
here,
she's
she's
fine.
alive, she recovered. Like it was a whole situation. Yeah, and he had to bring me home the next day, and I came home reeking of peach schnapps and vomit. Probably like he
Oh.
dropped me off, and I walked in and sat down, and my parents were like, well, you clearly are not taking any of this seriously. Like you reek like alcohol. The guy you're not supposed to be dating is literally the one who just dropped you off. So they kicked me out again. So I had to leave and was like, yeah, I was homeless for a little bit. I went and stayed with a friend and stayed with her for a few weeks. I literally looked at like getting emancipated or foster care or whatever until the police found out that I was staying with a friend, and they called my parents and said, well, if we put her in foster care, you guys are going to have to pay X amount every week or month. Like you don't get to just give up your responsibility for your kid. And so my parents came and picked me up and brought me home. They said, we're not paying anyone else. You're coming home and you're not going to leave the house. You're going to go to school
Wow.
and back from school, and that's it. And blah, 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 blah. So, yeah, like some of the fun, lovely childhood memories. And that was actually over Christmas break. So, like the whole Christmas holiday season, I was like staying with a friend, not at home. It was a very contentious time. This is all the reasons why I went to college a year early. My senior year in high school, I actually went to college as a full-time college student because it was so tumultuous at home. I just had to get out of there. And so I actually went to college my senior year in high school.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're a pretty smart kid though to be able to do that because that
Yeah.
doesn't happen for everybody. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing. Well, and
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to say I love it, but like the guy that's in the story, like where did I'm curious to know, like where did he fit in? Did you guys end up continuing to date?
Yes and no. So like He was older than me, so he went off to college and actually went and did a year. He was from Sweden, his family's from Sweden, so he went and studied in Sweden. I actually went to go visit him in Sweden, and we kind of had a whole when I left Sweden, we said, well, we're not together but we're not apart kind of thing. Like we both agreed that if either of us met somebody where we were, that we would
Right.
break up and whatever else. So he's in Sweden studying. I come home and meet my baby daddy, like Quentin's dad. I meet this troublemaker guy that had my attention. So I write and break up with the guy in Sweden and say, I met someone, it's over. Can I tell you, Frannie, that? And then I proceeded to get pregnant by Quentin's dad. And this guy quit school, flew home, like wanted to be with me, like bring it even after I got pregnant, like sending me flowers and wanting to be with me. He's a doctor now. He's a doctor and he's married. Yes. And he has a
Oh,
couple kids. So,
that was the one who got away, huh?
I mean, yes and no, but I have a couple of ones that like hugely successful people, like in their own right, that, whatever. But yeah, so that's what happened with that. We
Oh.
didn't stay together, and I ended up like chasing a bad boy and getting pregnant and going down that whole road. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say obviously Quentin came from that, so that was a beautiful, wonderful thing.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I'm sure there were some things you wish you wouldn't have maybe done there.
Yeah, but they all make for interesting stories, which is
The whole
great
point.
for us. We have plenty of interesting
I was like,
stories.
I
So.
think we could probably do an episode a day for probably the next.
Right. A
I
very
mean,
long
literally,
time. Yeah, yeah.
plenty of these. So awesome. Well, Kelly, it's always so good to connect with you here on Booze, Boys, and Bad Decisions. So we are grateful for you as the audience. So go ahead and click the like and subscribe button, and you'll be notified when we have our next episode going live. We're hoping to go live here very soon. So go ahead and share this episode with a friend, pay it forward, share it with somebody. And of course, just stay tuned for the next episode and follow us for shorts and other ways to get connected.
Let's have them comment below. Hey, if you're watching, what was your go-to drink in high school? I want to say, like your first experience, was it Boone's Farm? Was it
Mad Dog,
Zima's? Was it cheap beer? Was
Mad
it like
Dog,
what? What?
Mad Dog,
Mad Dog? What was it? What was it? Bartles and James, the other little wine coolers or whatever.
wine
So
coolers.
comment below if you're brave enough. Tell us about your first unfortunate experience with alcohol, or what was your go-to back then, and we can all have a good laugh about it. Yeah,
Amen.
love. Can't
And
wait to
bonus
see.
points if you post a picture of it.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
All right, we'll see you next episode, y'all.